Today we are going to look at 11.1, which is area of parallelograms. Let's first look at the formulas. These formulas can be found on the Keystone formula sheet that is posted online. You have the perimeter there first, and then you have the area formula second. Area is base times height, where the height is always perpendicular to the base. A few other formulas we have the square on the left, also found on your formula sheet, and the rectangle on the right. Let's start using them. So first example here, this is a basic parallelogram. Let's label what we have. So 15 would be like our base, 10 would be A, and 8 would be my height. So we are going to find the area and the perimeter. Let's start with the perimeter. Perimeter is 2A plus 2B. So that's 2 times 10 plus 2 times 15. So that's going to be 20 plus 30. The perimeter would be 50 inches. Make sure you include that unit, 50 inches. Now let's go over here and do the area. So area is base times height. The base is 15. The height is 8. That is perpendicular to the base. 15 times 8, that's going to be 120. When we're looking at area, we are measuring in square units. So in this case, square inches. So that is my perimeter and area. Let's look at this next example. So we have another parallelogram. 27 would be like my base. 17 would be A. And my height currently is missing. So when we go to calculate area, we're going to have to find that height. Let's start with perimeter first. So 2A plus 2B, 2 times 17 plus 2 times 27. I know you guys can multiply that, so I'm going to jump right to the answer. That's going to be 88 meters for my perimeter. So when we go to area, base times height, we're missing the height. So let's take a look at what we have here. So we have this right triangle. I have two sides of my right triangle. In order to find that height, we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. I'm going to do those calculations at the top. So this is going to be h squared plus 8 squared equal to the hypotenuse squared, which is 17 squared. So we get h squared plus 64 equals 289. And so we end up with h squared. When we subtract the 64, we get 225. And h is 15, or my height is 15. So over here for area, we're going to take our base, which is 27. We're going to take the height that we just found, 15. 27 times 15, 405 square meters. So that is my area and perimeter for that parallelogram. Let's keep going. Another parallelogram. 12 is my base. 9 would be A. And as you can see from the picture, the height is missing. Here we are only finding the area. Area is base times height. So we have the base, that's 12. Let's think about how we can find this height. So we have this right triangle again. We know this is 9. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. I don't know any of the other sides, but I do know something about 45, 45, 90 triangles. Legs are congruent. 9 is my hypotenuse. The leg, which in this case is h, times the square root of 2 equals that hypotenuse of 9. If I divide by the square root of 2. Okay, can't leave it like that, so we're going to rationalize it. And I get that the height is 9 square root of 2 all over 2. Okay, so then I'm going to put that in as my height. 9 square root of 2 all over 2. So we're going to multiply this out, get the exact value, and then we'll talk about if you get a decimal. So if I do 12 times 9, I get 108 square root of 2 over 2. 108 divides by 2, giving me 54 square root of 2 units, since I don't have a unit, square units. Okay, so that would be our exact answer. Okay, if they don't want an exact answer, they would have to tell you what to round it to. Typically, that'll be 1 decimal place or to the nearest tenth. So this answer rounded would be 76.4 square units if they ask for that. Okay, typically we will want the exact answer. Let's look at this one. So same thing, we're going to find the area, base times height. Looking at this picture, 18 is the base. Okay, 12 would be A, and we don't know the height yet, but we're going to calculate it with that right triangle. So I do know that the base is 18. Let's take a look at this height. So opposite angles in a parallelogram are congruent, meaning that this is a 60-degree angle as well. And we can take a look at what we know about 30, 60, 90 triangles. So 12 is my hypotenuse. This would be like my short leg. My height would be like my long leg. Okay, so if you remember, short leg times 2 gives me the hypotenuse, which in this case is 12. So if I divide by 2, the short leg is 6. So this is 6. Okay, at this point then, short leg times square root of 3 equals that longer leg, which in this case is my height. Short leg is 6, 6 square root of 3. That's going to be my height measure now. So that's what I'm going to substitute in here for my formula, 6 square root of 3. If I want the exact answer, I'm going to multiply the 18 and the 6, and I get 108 square root of 3 inches, square inches. That would be your exact answer. If they want a rounded answer, if you multiply that together, that would be 187.1 square inches. Okay, so you have to still remember some of those 45, 45, 90 rules, 30, 60, 90 rules when we're looking at some of these shapes throughout this unit, as well as Pythagorean theorem. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So this one, we're going to find the height and the base given the area. The area is 168 square units. So area is base times height. So it looks like that we know the area, so let's actually substitute that in. So the area is 168. On my picture here, this is representing the base, this is representing my height. So the base is x plus 2, and the height is x. I'm going to distribute that. So I get 168. If I distribute the x, I get x squared plus 2x. And I know I'm going to need to factor. So let's subtract the 168, get this set equal to 0. So x squared plus 2x minus 168 equals 0. When we factor here, we're looking for two things that multiply to negative 168, add to a positive 2, and that's going to be x plus 14, x minus 12. 14 and negative 12 give me negative 168. Positive 14 plus negative 12 gives me positive 2. When I solve that, I get x equals negative 14 and x equals positive 12. Let's think about the context of the problem, what we're trying to find, height, base. If I try to substitute in a negative 14, I'm going to get a negative height. That is not going to work. So we're looking here at x equaling 12. Okay, and let's actually answer the question. So then the height if x is 12, is going to be 12. And we're just in units, so 12 units. And the base, if I substitute in 12 plus 2, 14 units. And that's going to be your final answers there. So some factoring as well along the way. All right, now let's actually look at some squares and rectangles. So here we are given the area of a square. So area of a square is side times side, or side squared. So they give me that the area is 144. So 144 equals s squared. In order to find the side, we're going to take the square root, and so the side is going to be positive 12. Now we don't need plus or minus, it's only positive because we're actually looking at the side of a square. So side is 12. Now we're going to use that side to help us find the perimeter. Perimeter of a square is p equals 4s. So p equals 4 times 12. The perimeter, 48, and just inches when we're looking at perimeter, 48 inches. All right, and last example. So here we are given a rectangle, and we are given the perimeter of the rectangle is 15.8 miles. From that, we are going to find the area. So perimeter of a rectangle is 2 length plus 2 width. So we can call this the length, we can call this the width. I know the perimeter is 15.8. I don't know the length, so I'm just going to keep that as L. And I know the width is 2. So we get 15.8 equals 2L plus 4. If I subtract the 4, I get 11.8 equals 2L. Divide by 2. The length is 5.9. So now that we have both the length, 5.9 miles, now that we have both the length and the width, now we're going to find the area. Area of a rectangle is length times width. So the length we just found was 5.9. The width we knew was 2. 5.9 times 2. This area is 11.8 square miles.